Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Yesterday, we had a great chat with Dr. Creek about leaky gut, and today we're going to discuss another type of digestive issue. So, over 4 million Americans have frequent constipation. While constipation may be caused by some of the foods we eat, it can also be a sign of nutrient deficiency. That's why today we're really excited to chat with Dr. Christine Bishara. Dr. Bishara is the founder of From Within Medical. I love this name. A medical wellness, weight loss, and aesthetic practice. So today we're going to discuss chronic constipation, proper nutrition, and other digestive health tips. So I saw.
Oh, here you are. Hello. Hi, Dr. Bishara.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for taking the time and join us.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Uh, this is like such an important topic to address today, so I'm like super excited. Please tell us a little bit about your background and how you became medical wellness and weight loss expert.
Yeah, sure. So my background is in internal medicine. I practiced internal medicine for 20 years, but I always found that nutrition really didn't play as big a role in my practice as I would have liked it to, and I've always been really passionate about nutrition. So it was something that I kind of just decided, you know what, I'm going to leave mainstream medicine and open my practice because I saw that there was such a huge need for nutrition-based medicine. So incorporating what I've learned with internal medicine, but kind of putting that nutrition aspect to help with not only gut health, wellness, but weight loss really makes a huge impact and a difference. So that's really where I got started, just my passion for nutrition.
Was was it a hard decision? Because we all know that medical school takes forever, and there's literally like no nutrition course taught in the medical school.
Honestly, it was not. I mean, even when I was in medical school, I would joke with my friends and say, one day I'm going to open a wellness center because this has always been my dream. So for me, I guess it just was more of when the timing was right. So I'm, a mom of three kids and they're now teenagers. So I feel like I had a little bit more time now to kind of focus on not them. So.
So you mentioned the gut health. So why is the gut health so important?
So we're starting to see that our gut plays a huge role in so many of our, medical wellness. It plays a role in our weight. It plays a role in our development of autoimmune diseases. It plays a role in so many chronic conditions, and it plays a role in how severe you develop COVID. My colleagues and I published a study on that we saw a deficiency of specific bacteria related to COVID severity. So the gut, in my opinion, is really going to be at the forefront of medicine in the next years. We're starting to see links to so many conditions from, gut imbalances. So it definitely plays a huge role.
You had a really great reel about a lack of specific nutrients and a chronic constipation. Like, so what are some of these nutrient that people are lacking? And I know you also mentioned about vitamin C. So what's like a good source of a good like vitamin C, good quality
Yeah.
vitamin C?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because a lot of people try to deal with constipation by resorting to laxatives that
Mhm.
over time will kind of give you a lazy colon. It gets used to that stimulation from the laxative. So while it's good to take every once in a while and, not on a chronic basis, it's not good to take daily. So what I usually recommend is more natural options to help with constipation. And, like you said, the first really great option is food. I'm going to tell you the things that everybody knows. It's hydration, right? I mean, you can't think about it. If you're pouring water through a pipe, go down a lot faster than if you're not. So hydration is really important. So, 6 to 8 cups a day. If you're exercising and doing more activities where you're sweating, definitely more. You want to eat high fiber foods that aren't necessarily digested by your colon, and then they make a quicker. But what you said was really important. We need to eat foods that are rich in certain nutrients because we have seen studies that show that deficiencies of specific nutrients are usually linked to chronic constipation, and those are vitamin D, vitamin C, magnesium. Those are the three big ones that we've noticed. So if you want to try to replenish vitamin C, you want to eat vitamin C rich foods. And a lot of people, the first thing they think of is oranges. So oranges are definitely great sources of fiber and great sources of vitamin C, but there are a lot of other foods that are even higher in vitamin C. So foods like bell peppers are really high in vitamin C. I think one of the highest actually. Foods like broccoli can also help replenish your vitamin C. And like even you don't even need that much. Like a half a cup provides half of your daily requirements. So kiwi fruit is another really good source of vitamin C. So and supplements. I would not recommend high dose supplements for vitamin C because you can't get side effects from that. But you know, like 500 milligrams is probably fine for most people. So yeah, but I always like to give food sources as a better source because of the fact that it's also got the fiber, right?
Well, food is medicine, pretty much.
I'm a big proponent of that.
Yeah. So you mentioned the vitamin C. So, and you also mentioned vitamin D and the magnesium. So let's go down and so for vitamin D, what are some good ways for us to get vitamin D throughout the day?
Yeah. So vitamin D, we're starting to see it's like a really good, important vitamin because not only does it function as a vitamin and it helps us with bone strength, but believe it or not, it plays a huge role in our gut as well. So it helps with gut diversity. So we've seen that people who are deficient in vitamin D actually lead to a decrease in diversity and an imbalance in your gut. When you have an imbalance, which means that you have more harmful bacteria than good bacteria, these harmful bacteria may end up making and producing something called methane, which is a byproduct of these harmful bacteria. It's like a gas. So you'll start feeling bloated, you'll start getting constipated. And why? It's because methane actually slows the intestine down. So a lot of times you'll have harmful bacteria that, overpower the beneficial, and then start getting a slowed down of your colon, but you also get inflammation. So that contributes to constipation. So vitamin D is another really big one. I see literally maybe 7 out of 10 patients that I see for the first time. If we check vitamin D levels, they're usually deficient. So it's a big one that a lot of people don't even realize they're deficient in, and it can definitely affect your bowel movements. There was a study also recently about people with IBS in the constipation predominant. Around 8 out of 10 of the IBS patients with constipation actually were vitamin D deficient as well.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. Good sources of vitamin D are so dairy. A lot of people don't want to eat dairy. So if you don't really want to take dairy, you can have fermented dairy like kefir or yogurt. The best source of vitamin D is the sun. But I do also recommend a vitamin D supplement for most of my patients because I feel like we're not really getting enough. So a good dose to start with is 1,000 to 2,000 units of vitamin D. D3 is the one that you want to try to take because that's better absorbed. But definitely check your levels because rarely you can get vitamin D toxicity. It's not as common, but definitely check your levels when taking it after about 6 months. Make sure.
Yeah. This also reminds me of we also heard lack of vitamin D is linked to symptoms of depression or depression occurrence. And it's also, again, linked to gut, the gut-brain axis.
Yeah.
And if you have bloating, constipation, everything kind of just feeds into almost a vicious cycle.
It really does. And I'm really glad that you pointed that out because, as I mentioned, vitamin D is a vitamin, but it's also a hormone and it acts as a cofactor in the gut. And, we have production of neurotransmitters in our gut like serotonin. So if you're not producing enough vitamin D or you're not absorbing enough vitamin D, you're actually not going to be able to make things, and you're going to have to get that. You're going to start getting that dysbiosis in your gut, which it's like you said, it's just like a ricochet of bad situation. But also we saw vitamin D deficiency in COVID severity. Again, it's because it is a cofactor in the gut. We know that a large part of our immune system is also in the gut. So there's definitely a role that vitamin D plays with our bone health, our gut health, and our immune health. So very, very important, vitamin D.
So people should really remember, get your vitamin D checked, and then also try to get enough sunlight if you can, and then take a good quality supplement and making sure that's D3, not D2 or other kind of D.
Yes, exactly. The other one that I wanted to talk about was magnesium. Another big one. It's one of my favorite minerals. A lot of my patients who are constipated because it does work so well. And people think of like milk of magnesium, right? It's got the main ingredient is magnesium in there. So it definitely helps because what it does is it draws water into your colon. It kind of stimulates your like that easy passage. But again, with vitamin D deficiency, a large portion of people are also magnesium deficient. Like 70% of the population is probably deficient in magnesium. And unfortunately, what happens when we check magnesium levels with routine blood work, it doesn't always show up unless you're severely deficient, because what happens is magnesium is usually in the cell because it helps with a lot of cell functions. So the body will try to make sure it has enough magnesium for its cells. So it'll start drawing all the magnesium from the extracellular. And so you might not necessarily have a blood test that shows magnesium deficiency until it's very, very severe. So magnesium also, it helps with a lot of cell functions, but it also helps with movement of, we have something called peristalsis waves in the colon, and it helps the passage of stool. Those are muscle contractions. We have muscles in our colon. So if it's not, if we don't have enough, you're not going to be able to have that adequate peristalsis. So another really, yeah. I would definitely say with magnesium though, again, talk to your doctor before you start magnesium. It's fairly safe for most people, but we can, so our body will absorb what it needs and get rid of the rest in the urine. But people that may either be prone to kidney disease or have decreased kidney function, they may not be able to get rid of the magnesium as easily as someone who doesn't. So as much as it's safe for most people, definitely a good idea to check with your doctor before you start a magnesium supplement for that reason.
And I know there are also many different kinds of magnesium, and each one is kind of different functions. So making sure, like, you check with your doctor and eating at a right dose is probably super important.
You're bringing up really good points. So certain magnesium types are better absorbed, like lower in the colon. So glycinate and citrate are better absorbed lower, whereas oxide is more absorbed higher up. So it really depends also what you're taking it for. I mean, magnesium is great. It works for migraines. A lot of people say that it helps with muscle cramps. So again, it's one of the reasons why I love it so much, because it really does help with so many cell functions.
If people want to start a little bit, taking a little bit of magnesium supplement, how much should they be taking per day?
Yeah. I don't want to give too much high a dose again, just because it can have that renal function. But I think 400 milligrams is probably a good place to start if you're having constipation. Magnesium citrate or glycinate is probably the better one. So you could start with 400, work your way up. I have patients that take 3,000 milligrams. Yeah. So it really depends on also, are you losing a lot of magnesium in your sweat, or are you doing activities that you're losing magnesium, not really replenishing it, right? So like a telltale sign of that is leg cramps at nighttime. So if you're finding leg cramps at night, or you're waking up with really bad muscle cramps, that might be that you're magnesium deficient.
That's very interesting, because a lot of people were told that if they get leg cramp, it's like a sign of calcium, but people should be really checking their magnesium too.
Yeah, calcium and magnesium can do it. Magnesium is notorious for leg cramps. Headaches, too. People that have headaches sometimes are just magnesium deficient.
Oh, wow. So if people don't want to take supplement, what are some good quality source on food that people can get from magnesium?
Yeah. Spinach is a really good source of magnesium. Bananas are another really good source of magnesium. Seeds and nuts is also a great source of sardines are another good source. So there are a lot of, green leafy vegetables are usually pretty good sources of magnesium.
So other than vitamin C, vitamin D, magnesium, are there other causes of chronic constipation people should be aware of?
You want to make sure that whenever you have a change in bowel habits, right? So if you have a patient that's new, you always want to make sure you check with your doctor, right? Because constipation, especially if new onset, can be a symptom of colon cancer. So But, I have a lot of patients also with SIBO, so small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, that will start to have bloating and a lot of gas and constipation. Because again, with SIBO, you have a lot of harmful bacteria that are overgrowing in your small intestine, and they produce, again, methane. And so that methane is, think of it, it's like gas, right? And so it just starts to float you, slows everything down, leads to inflammation. So, if you're having constipation and you're not really getting like help with the treatments that we mentioned, definitely talk to your doctor about getting tested for colon cancer, but also something like SIBO. You could do a gut test to make sure. H. pylori is another one that having symptoms, it could definitely do that as well.
So what are some common foods or remedies that we can use to help with constipation, before it gets to like super severe that we need to see a doctor?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to increase your fiber. So, we recommend 30 grams of fiber a day. But on top of the fiber, make sure you're drinking enough, right? Because a lot of, and I've seen it so many times, a lot of people take Metamucil, right, which is psyllium. It's, fiber, but then they don't drink enough water. So make sure you're drinking enough. Drown out that, constipation, because it's got nowhere to go but out. So, hydrate, make sure you're drinking enough, make sure you're eating soft fibers, I would say. Like if you're suffering from constipation, don't eat that oatmeal, and don't take that Metamucil. It's going to make things worse. You want to have the soft fiber. Another really good one is prune juice that, believe it or not, works really well. You can heat it up in the microwave for a little bit. Yeah, it kind of works a little bit faster if you take it on an empty stomach in the morning. Some people find that it's a little bit too sweet. You can water it down, and then, just drink it warm. And then usually it kicks in an hour or so. If you take it on an empty stomach, it's pretty effective too.
Wow, that's all really good to know. I know you also have a podcast and a YouTube channel. So what kind of content do you feature on these really cool avenues?
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't done my podcast in a while. Like, I just do a lot of lives and podcasts with other people. But my YouTube channel, I'm very big into mental health too, because I believe that mental health plays such an important role in our physical well-being and our mental wellness.
Absolutely.
So a lot of focus on my YouTube channel with mental wellness, and just how we can improve our mental health, and that translates into improvement of our physical health. And again, there have been so many studies that show people who have either been through abuse or even childhood trauma, they have a higher incidence of developing chronic illnesses later on in life. So definitely a link. I think every parent that's, about to have a child, like, really needs to make sure that they're not doing anything. And, parents just want to do their best, right? But to make sure that they're not doing anything that might be causing their child to have trauma that they're going to carry literally, mentally, and physically, into adulthood. So I really feel like wellness encompasses everything, physical and mental health.
Absolutely. So tell us about the service you provide. I know your website is like really comprehensive. It's like a great menu, and it's really like around the entire like a wellness field. So tell us about it.
Yeah, and thank you so much for mentioning that. So I do wellness. So a lot of times people will see me for like a wellness evaluation, where either they're having some gut health issues or they just want to improve, their overall health. So we can either do a face-to-face or a virtual evaluation, and we really dig deep into not only your medical history. So that's really where my background in medicine kind of plays a role. Is I'm looking at you from the eyes of an allopathic internist, but then I'm incorporating that nutritional aspect and that gut brain connection that really is so important. And so we look into how is your gut affecting your mental health, and are there any specific nutrients that you're deficient in, and what's going on with, your overall food pattern. So we do that, but then I also have weight loss programs as well. So it really kind of depends on what everyone's needs are, but I big believer in all diseases start in the gut, and Hippocrates thousands of years ago, but we're really starting to see that really, like we said, we really are what you eat. So I do, in addition, look at your gut through extensive gut analysis just to see what's going on there, where we can tweak different things because we are all different.
Yeah, I see your experience being like super rare in the medical field because you're like first training really traditional internal medicine, then move on to the entire wellness and then functional way, and then being able to see it much more holistically and kind of reflected in your clinic name too. And then now we just got maybe one of your patients to like testimonial, like Dr. Christine is amazing. Like we can see it here. So thank you so much for what you do. This is amazing.
Thank you so much. I think we really were all, I think if anything we learned this past couple of years is our immune system plays a big role in our overall health. And, our gut really links into our immune system and that links into the rest of our body and prevention. And I see nothing wrong with treating patients with medications, but I feel like we've kind of become a society that has resorted to doing that as like a first line treatment. Band-aid, a quick Band-Aid fix. Like we've become a society of easy fixes, right?
Yeah.
And so that's fine. I mean, there's a role for treatment with pharmaceuticals, and I do believe that as an allopathic background. But I feel like we really need to kind of dig deep and find out what the root cause of all these illnesses that we're seeing is, and prevent versus treat. And then at the end, if we're really kind of at the last stop where we need medication, wrong with that. But I just feel like we really need to kind of dig deep and find out what the root cause of the issue is.
We need way more interns to be like you, like way more.
I think there's gonna be a big surge of a lot of doctors like me in the coming years because I think there's a real need for it, right? And it was a wake up call for all of that. So
thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And then also thank you everyone for joining. So make sure you follow Dr. Bishara at Dr. Christine B. And then read your published studies, your YouTube channel, and also book your appointment, book your services. So we'll have everything in the LinkedIn bio so people can just tap the post promoting this live. So thank you so much.
thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.